Wide out. Power. Wide out. Power. Shuffle. Pull and pull, pull and pull, pull and pull. A.
This athlete certainly has started quickly here, Paula.
Yeah, he's attacking well up the hill as well. You can see him gritting his teeth, trying to keep his sights and his eyes fixed on, not on the top of the hill, but just on the heels of the British runner ahead of him, James St. Murray there to... Yeah, he looks okay. I think he's comfortable. He's actually extended that gap slightly over the Portuguese team behind him. Belgium now moving through it and starting to challenge the Spanish team.
Yeah, McMurray's
Well. It's a Sunday evening and welcome to the Power Hour show. The show that brings you talk around runners, talk on about running. And as usual, I bring you a guest that will help make a contribution on matters running and matters for runners. Tonight, I have a special guest. Special in that they've gone through, you have athletes that are multi-talented, because they do maybe, several events in a way. But you don't get too many athletes, that are not doing multi-events, but maybe they're just doing 2 events. And that is on the track for a sprint, and then they're out on the field doing pole vault. Now, this is my guest tonight, and we're going to try and get a few insights and on those choices and the challenges that come with the sprinting and the pole vaulting. Imogen Walker, welcome to the show.
Hi.
How are you, Imogen?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
You're good, yeah. Tell me first, how are you coping with the second lockdown, tier 3, tier 4? Where are you at with that?
It is a bit of a whirlwind. Up until yesterday, I was living at uni and completely uproot, move home. So now I'm just back with family.
All right. Okay. So you had to get out of there quick and come and join the families, sort of arrangement.
Yeah. Pack my bags as fast as I could.
All right. Now, before we get into your events and your specialism there, who is Imogen Walker? How did you find yourself in track and field?
So I actually started through my mum. My mum was a coach. Well, she became a coach at Hearts Phoenix, and I think I was actually about 5. I think I was 5 years old, which got me into sports hall, and then from sports hall into like the main track. And I did every event you could think of. I did it, long distance, short distance, throws, jumps, everything. And I'm pretty sure that most people hoped that I would be sort of a heptathlete, but there were obviously things that I was better at than others. And then from there, I started to train with yourself. And I did 400s primarily. But that was great. That was so much fun. I absolutely loved 4s. And then the only event in track, not track, field, that I hadn't tried was pole vault. And I went to a tryout day at Lee Valley, and we did sort of like a practice there where we did sort of sandpit stuff with a stick, and I loved it. So from then I went on to do both.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's fair enough. There'll be people that at your club that would testify to your multi abilities in different events, and that can be a good thing, but it can also be a challenge. How did you find yourself with that? At what point did you decide maybe I want to focus on one event or two events, or for others it comes early in terms of choosing the events? What was your journey like yourself, before you settled on the events that you eventually did settle on?
I would say so. Throughout most of my younger time as an athlete, I was really good at 2 and I was really good at 8. But I
Wow.
didn't see myself as fast enough for the 2, and I had the worst endurance, so it wasn't good enough for the 8. So I went in the middle.
Yeah.
And that was how I sort of specified down to 3s and 4s. And then pole vault just happened. It was great. I loved it. It was just more difficult in the both. So yeah, I had to at the time sort of pick which one I wanted to do, and at the time of when I was younger, that it was 400s that took that primary place for me.
Yeah. Okay. I know we are in a second lockdown. Let's talk about maybe the first lockdown and how that has affected you with your with that situation of 2 events, your 400 and then the pole vault. How did that work with you? What were your experiences with it?
Pole vault was really difficult, actually. It's not like being a sprinter, so you can't just go to the park and jump onto a big bed. There is no bed. So you kind of have to sort of do ghost drills. Imagine that the bed's there, do the drills for it. And then there comes the issue of sort of, how do I get my upper body strength? How can I do that body weight, those body weight exercises? So it was sort of going to a park, seeing if I can, like some kind of jungle gym or something that I can do, sort of pull-ups, swing-ups, that type of thing, wherever I can, because it is quite a complex technical event. So it's difficult to find the places that I can do that training. Whereas 400s, I gave up in A levels, which I really, really thought was a mistake on my behalf. So I chose to get back into it, and it happened that lockdown happened at the same time, which is incredibly unfortunate. But there was this sort of huge motivation that I developed. I started going for really, really long runs. I did 5Ks, 10Ks, which is long for me. I know I'm not a long distance runner. So the 10Ks were a bit of a struggle, but I did my best. And then I decided, let's make this specific. So, we're back, we're working hard. I'm in the park every day. I'm doing what I can to get that sprint work in. And it paid off. So once we came out of that lockdown, I felt like, I was fit. I was back on that track. I'm lifting the best I've ever lifted in the gym. It's just super unfortunate that we're back in the situation that we're in.
Yeah. It's a difficult situation, for everyone in any walk of life, and but you find people have to find ways, to continue with their different passions, their different engagements, to do that. What are some of the things that you had to do to maintain your love for track and field, or for pole vault, or for 400 meters? What are some of the things that you would not have thought about, prior to the lockdown and the pandemic, that I thought, I had to come up with these crazy ideas or such ingenuity for me to continue just to enjoy what I like doing?
It definitely taught me that I have taken my training facilities for granted. Training in the parks, the way that my sessions are, that one session in the morning, one session in the evening. and trying to get a session in the pitch black in a park is really difficult. So I've had to sort of utilize, and you know, my neighbours see me running down the street and then walking back and doing it again 6 more times. You know, it is really strange. They must think I'm a complete weirdo for going to the park with straps on my wrist and swinging upside down alone without anyone with me. So that's definitely been a challenge. But I think the thing that's kept me really, really motivated is that I actually coach myself. I coach younger athletes myself, and watching them train and seeing them have the best time working hard, and knowing that even though they're going through the worst lactic acid ever, but gonna completely appreciate it after, made me want that feeling again. It made me want to work hard and, you know, and go out there and really try my best.
Yeah. No, that's a good thing there. You know, if I may pick on and follow on that, the point that you just made there, it's not a common thing, you know, amongst current practicing athletes to be involved with coaching. You know, you are different. How do you manage to do that, and why? How did you know? What is it that drove you to be able to get time to coach younger athletes? You know, whilst you yourself are still a practicing athlete.
I think so. It was actually my mum that forced me to get my coaching license, and I think that was one of the best things she probably could have ever done. I actually got in touch, well, Watford Harriers got in touch with me and wondered if I would be willing to come and coach some of the athletes down there, which, you know, it gradually progressed, and now I have my own junior sprints group, which is, you know, I love them. They're like a family. And, you know, once you get that relationship, athlete relationship coach, you know, it doesn't matter if I've got, you know, so much going on. I have that commitment to them, and I feel like as an athlete myself, I would, you know, it would be really strange if my coach came for one session and then decided to leave. You know what I mean? I have a commitment to them, and you know, as an athlete, I would expect that too. So I feel like, you know, I want to watch these people grow and progress. I want to see them compete. I want to see them have success themselves. And, you know, some of them are almost my age, which is crazy. So we might even compete together at some point. I just choose to not tell them my age.
Okay. Right. This is fascinating. Is there anything then, you know, that you have learned, or that, you know, whether it is from a perspective point of view or from actual, you know, coaching skills standpoint, that I think I'm a better athlete because of what I do coaching younger athletes. I find that I'm learning a lot more things that would make me a better athlete myself, because you are interacting with athletes as a coach. Does that have any effect on you?
Absolutely. They all bring their own sort of spice to the session. They've all got a personality. Some of them moan, as a lot of athletes do, and some of them are super motivated and really determined. And I think as a coach, you know, when you hear them moan, you're like, you know, you can do this, you can get through this. And then when I get to the track and I'm training and I'm on my, you know, my 5th or 6th rep, and I sort of feel like I can't do this, it's sort of like, well, I'm myself telling these athletes that they can do it when they're dying. So I need to take my own advice.
Yeah.
And then part of me in my head just imagines you screaming at me from the middle of the track. And then I have to get it done.
Yeah. Oh, that's really, really useful there. That's really amazing there, Imogen. Because yes, I should imagine that, you know, there are insights that you get from, because you're working with athletes as a coach, those insights come to you as an athlete when you yourself are working either on your own or with a coach, because you can be in both, in both pairs of shoes, if we may call them that. I think that's really amazing on your part. Well done for that.
Thank you.
Right, I'm going to give you a water break, and when we come back, we like to look at your 400 meters and the choice, the challenges, and just the training itself. Yeah, shall we do that?
Yes. Okay.
Good show. Now, 400 meters is an event that has its own notoriety amongst athletes, in that it is not the most comfortable event. If I may, let's just put it in mild terms. It's not the most comfortable event. It's not the event you'd run at the end of it and you are, happy-go-lucky, as it were. It tells you have run a 400 meters. How did you come around to making that choice? And, what are some of the challenges that you found training and competing in 400 meters?
I came because 400, and I sort of considered it a bit of a training. My training sessions were sessions. I loved working hard, and I don't know how many people relate to me, but I can't walk. But really, I would say the main. I was thinking before, and a scary place, and sort of I had this level of motivation and determination that never. When I start line, I had to sort of convince to it, but it took a lot more for me to get out. 400. Way that I
Just hang on, Imogen. I think during the water break, something might have happened with your audio. It's cutting off as you're talking. It's cutting off as you're talking. Would you just like to have a look at it whilst I, give us a look here at? Yeah, let's see you.
Let's get him in. Ready? Yep. Let's do this. Get the shoulders back. Let's hit hips forward. Hit. That's your 5 right there. Come on. It's your 7. And brace.
Okay.
Are we good?
Is that better?
Yes, most definitely.
My headphones died.
We came back to you, and we found there's no emoji in there. There was just where emoji was before.
Sorry.
That's all right. But you're back on, and very clear now. Yes. If you like, just to go back, to responding to that question there, because you were cutting off, and I think a lot of value was lost.
Okay. I'm not sure where I cut off, so I'll start again. I think so I basically got into 4s and loved them so much through the training for them. I actually used the term that I was a training warrior because my sessions were incredible. Like, I loved the sessions. I worked really hard. I had this sort of determination that never sort of died. When I had 10 250s, by the 6th one I was dead, but I could do it. Like, I knew I could do it. All I had to do was count down the hundreds, you know. But the challenges actually came when I got to the start line of an actual competition, and that sort of strength within myself was no longer there. So I always felt like I couldn't do it, or I was unable to do it, even though I could do it, you know, 10 times in a training session. Which obviously was a massive mental thing, which I had to try really, really hard to get rid of, but it did get the better of me a lot. And then the other challenge didn't come until a bit later, but it was around my A levels, and the volume that you know, the stress that school put me through was really, really extreme, and I did not cope with it very well at all. And then to come to training after killing myself at school and to kill myself at training was really mentally challenging. So that was a big effect that I suffered with.
Yeah. That's an interesting point that you bring up there, because there's a lot of, it's fair to say there's a lot of dropouts, you know, athletes as they progress with their studies because of that, you know, that challenge, which is the load, the amount of work they have to do at school. And yet also, you know, the training itself is almost unrelenting if they have to meet their, you know, competition objectives. And maybe you'd like to share more, you know, what were your strategies? What kept you go, you know, how did you cope? What were your coping mechanisms and strategies to handle that and to pass through that phase yourself?
I would say my mum. My mum would pick me up after school and I was off to training. There was no question about it. But there was a lot of tears, you know, there were tears during sessions, there were tears after sessions. I was never really a good person at planning out my life. I mean, I'm still not a very organized person. I'm better, but it was really difficult to balance the both. I think I struggled a lot. And I picked, for my A levels, I picked 3 like really heavy writing and reading based topics. So there was a lot of, you know, a lot of work that I had to do for A levels, as well as try and fit training in. And at some points it was sort of like, well, am I going to have to choose between one or the other? And unfortunately it did get the better of me.
Yeah, well, well done anyway, you know, for coming out of it, you know, on top, so to speak, you know, with all that, because you still got yourself enjoying your track and field, and you know, you are were able to progress through to the university. Could you just tell me a bit about the transition, you know, from club athletics, you know, at your local club, and then, you know, university athletics, you know, given all the work demands there, and maybe the different environment and the coaching environment that you found, you know, because a lot of talent, again, is that is a bit of a bumpy transition, you know, for most athletes coming from the club to the university, you know, track and field environment.
Well, club was okay for me. I think I actually, because I started so young, I grew up around those older athletes anyway. But when I went to uni, so I'm only a second year currently, but when I went, I was not training for sprints at the time. I was only doing pole vault, but it's very high competition. It's very difficult to get into the team to even compete for my uni. So that was a little bit of a deterrent. So the sort of atmosphere there wasn't necessarily friendly for me, because being someone that's just getting back into it, you know, I'm not at that level. And I admit that I'm not at that level, but I'm ready to work for that level. The only thing is finding someone that's willing to put their faith in me and to coach me to reach that level and to be there, because I know I can get there and I want to get there. It's just if people want to help me to get there, it's that sort of support system. So currently I don't have masses of connection to the sports at my uni, but I'm hoping that by year 3 I'm just going to come in and boom, I'm here, I want to compete, I've got the talent, let's go.
Bravo. That's a bravo attitude to have there, because unless we take the space before us and create the reality that we need, it can be difficult to just wait around for an opportunity or for a chance, because we might not even identify the chance when it presents itself, because we haven't structured it out in our minds what it is that we want to do and how we want to get it done. No, well done. Let's talk about the pole vault itself. You went in, you enjoyed. It was fun. Gravity, at some point. Pole vault is very strong, dominant in terms of strength and conditioning. And especially, with your upper body, so to speak. What are your experiences with that? You spend a lot of time in the gym. What is it like? How do you prepare for that? And what were your experiences coming from 400 meters and not suddenly, but you find yourself, you have to, you have another passion here, but it also has different demands on your training load.
Of course, yeah. So obviously being a sprinter, wanting to be a sprinter and doing pole vault, it's a lot of work. Pole vault, we don't have to do masses and masses of running. We do 30 meters at a push. But I think definitely working on the sprints work helps me on the runway, makes me stronger, makes me more powerful. So it's going to be better with the vault, of course. The difference is gym is quite significant. For 400 we did quite intense work, like lifting, that type of stuff, and then to go to pole vault and suddenly I have to be a gymnast, it's quite different. I've got to learn how to do lots of upper body strength, which is have very, very small arms, very, very skinny small arms that we're not used to that. So up until maybe December last year, the rings were my biggest fear. Doing the rings was absolutely terrifying, whereas now I can swing up multiple times, no problem. It is more that I found that type of work harder to learn, because it was more sort of muscle memory for me to learn to do the movement and then be able to do the movement every time. Whereas I would say I've always been quite strong, sort of quite powerful, but that's only really picked up more since I've gotten back into sprints. So with my gym, I could not squat more than about 60 for a very, very long time, which sounds quite low. Now I'm up to 110. I am cleaning heavy. I deadlift 140. It's really, really motivational to see myself growing in that sense, which I think is going to definitely benefit both events. It's more so the upper body strength stuff that's quite a significant change.
That's brilliant. You also have come back to the short sprints, haven't you? What was the decision behind that?
I just missed it. I loved it. My other half is a sprinter, and watching him train and watching him, excel in competitions and absolutely love it. I remember when that was me, and I remember the feeling that I used to get. And there's not been any sort of other thing that I've done. I took part in volleyball, I tried other sports. It's just not the same sort of gratification
that gives you. So I really just wanted to get back into it, give it a shot.
Yeah. No, brilliant. Let's have a look at this once again, and let's see what it is that you are doing here, and maybe you can give us an insight. And
Let's get him in. Ready, hip. Let's do this. Get the shoulders back. Let's hit hips forward. Hit, 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 hit. That's your 5 right there. Come on. It's your 7. And brace.
Oh my gosh. I was so young. Oh my gosh. I did not know you even had that video.
well, there it is. There it is. Yes, yes. Once you were that young, yes, absolutely so.
That used to be one of my favorite sessions.
Yeah. Well done. When you were doing that, that's almost just plyometrics there. Yes, with a bit of mechanical work as well. You notice at the end there, you're almost slumping down because you are tired. What were your experiences with that sort of training? What did it do to you mentally and technically?
Mentally, it was fantastic. I loved that work. I felt really, really strong as an athlete when we did those types of sessions. They were so fun. Like, I think I probably told you that I was knackered and I wanted to go home, but they were really, really good. I think technically it was really, really beneficial. I used to be really sloppy with my arms, with my knee drive. I used to run really backside, and that made everything stronger. It made everything in line. And it meant that when I didn't have the restraint on, when I was running, I felt like 10 times faster, and I felt like, I knew when I was getting it right. I knew the right movements.
Yeah.
So it definitely improved that. It definitely, working on those small sections made a massive difference to my overall running.
Let's have a look at another one.
Oh gosh.
We got another one here. Yeah, first step quickness there with your A drive and a brace as well. A lot of very short, specific and precise work, to ingrain, the technical competencies, in you. I've had athletes that to say, that would sometimes when you looking at skill work, it does not seem like you're doing a lot of work, compared to running, doing reps there. What was your experience yourself from a intensity and load point of view, doing skill work versus doing, the actual running, if we may separate it like that? What was your experience?
The actual running part was much worse. I think when I had technical sessions, I was very happy. I think I actually struggled a little bit more with technical work. There was a lot of frustration with getting it right. There was this idea of perfectionism that I had. And I, you know me, I'm very vocal about how it feels and if it feels wrong and if I can change it and get it right. So I think it was, it was preferred to do those technical sessions. You can run and run and run for as long as you want and as hard as you want, but without all of the technical work, there's no point in doing it. You're not going to get any faster if you just continue the same stuff. Those those technical tweaks obviously made a huge difference. So I mean, the type of stuff we did, I put that forward into my sessions now. You know, my kids all know the drills that we did. They know what you told me.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear, and especially to hear the perspective you have on it, in that, if there's technical flaws there, then the whole running, exercise is compromised. And, the outputs are compromised, but also the risk of injury is increased.
Yeah, of course.
The muscles are not in coordination, and they're not carrying out the work in synergy. And that, it drops down the output that you're looking for, whether these are movement goals or competition goals, they are compromised. But more incredibly is the risk for injury is just heightened, and sooner or later things just give up on you, or let you down, if you may call it that way. You mentioned you run behind yourself, as it were, with a back. And you did spend a lot of time, working on your hip and your hip muscles and the lower back muscles, to try and put that pelvic and that hip in the appropriate position, so that, things that must happen will happen, both in timing and in rhythm and in proper coordination. I've got a clip here. Maybe you would want to, share your thoughts on it.
Oh, wow.
That's quite technical proficiency there. How did you arrive at that? You were not exactly like that at the start, were you? That's a very high-skilled thing for headlines.
That came from a lot of practice. A lot of practice and a lot of discipline. And I remember when I would do a rep wrong and it was like, nope, doesn't count, let's do it again. You got to get it right, until it became almost automatic. I don't even have to think about it, but it took a lot of mental processes to think like, right, hips underneath me, let's tuck that in, let's brace that stomach.
Yeah.
So it definitely took a long time to learn, because I did not start off very like that at all.
Because I quite remember, I think, the drama at the start of this whole, hip mobility workouts. I remember the drama we used to have there with, it was just almost the fright of the height of the hurdles. That was in itself a challenge, was it not?
I do remember one session where I was too scared to jump over a hurdle. She made me do 6 runs up a hill. And I came back and I jumped straight over that hurdle.
So in a case of, the better devil here there than the hill, right? All right, Imogen, I'm going to give you a water break. And when we come back to close the session, I'd like to hear about what next now. What are the plans for the season? We don't know exactly what the season is going to look like. What contingencies have you got in place, training wise and competition wise? Back at the club and back at the uni, this sort of this sort of scenarios. Let's hear what your plans, tentative as they may be, but let's hear what that looks like. yes, it's difficult to you know, to make plans, you know, with all the uncertainty, you know, out there, and but plans we still must make, you know, so that when
Yeah.
things get back to normal or to a new normal, you know, and you know, we're able to continue with the passion, you know, our passions. What is it looking like for you? What are the plans for the season, and what is it going to look like? What are you going to be competing in? What are your thoughts, or what are your actual firmed up plans with that one?
Okay, so pole vault, I think I'm definitely going to compete. I'm not sure when or where yet, because obviously everything right now is uncertain. I definitely think that I'm strong enough to better myself and PB this year. For sprints, however, what I want to do is work really, really hard this year. Obviously, I only got back into it in March. So I want to work super hard, get a good winter. I don't think there's going to be an indoor season for sprints, but possibly an end of the season for outdoors. I want to make sure that I am 100% ready, certain, and, you know, confident within myself that by the time I step back on that start line again, that doubt that I had before with fours isn't in my brain. Like, I know that I'm ready and I'm good to do this. I just think the first race might be, you know, the other end of the country where I don't know anyone.
Okay. That is strategy, right?
Just trying to make the best of every sort of resource that I've got. You know, whilst I don't have a track, I'm going to be using the park. I've got training plans set. I've got everything planned, you know. Whilst, you know, if I've got, you know, Dom is planning to do really, really well, my other half, who's a sprinter, I'm going to support him as much as I can whilst focusing on myself too. So the aim is to just get fit, healthy and fast, and then come out and compete.
Yeah. You know, as things are, everyone is in the same situation, and you know, I think it's fair to say that, you know, discipline will need to be a big component of that, because
definitely
the body is not in a state that the mind might probably want it to be.
Yeah.
And so, you know, both training wise and competition wise, you know, there's going to be need to make some adjustments in the expectations one places on themselves. You know, otherwise, you know, the body might just, you know, decide to protect itself. And when the body decides to protect itself, the body decides to protect itself.
I think the discipline in a lockdown is super important right now. It's so easy to wake up and say, no, I don't fancy going to train. Like, I don't want to go to the park. I'll do it later. And then later comes and you don't do it. But, you know, my method is pretty much to tell everyone in my household to shout at me if I don't go.
Yeah.
Because I need to, and it's important. And, you know, if you really, really want it, then you will go out and you will train, even if it means going to the park in the pouring rain.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you're doing it for yourself. It's your goal. You're not doing it for anyone else.
Yeah.
So the only person really that you're cheating by staying in bed or not going is yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, Imogen, you've been super duper, you know, sharing your own stories, your own, you know, your own experiences, and very candid, you know, in doing that. I think many people would have identified with that and will identify with that. Those that have a, you know, a belated watch of the, you know, of the show, because you've just come out, you know, very transparent with yourself and your experiences. You know, I think that was brilliant. So I like to, what's left of me is to thank you for coming on the Power Hour show, and tell you what, I should bring you back in because there's something there that you mentioned with university track and field. The challenges there, I think that is a story that many people would like to hear because it's a common challenge.
Yeah.
When athletes get into uni and they're not flashing straight away within the first year or second year, and like you say, the third year, that's when they sort of come into their own. But we want to know what's going on with those first year or second year, and why people cannot just go straight into it and transition smoothly. So we will make a date and we will talk about that sometime, possibly in the new year, of course.
Okay.
And so thank you for coming on the show, Imogen.
Thank you. It was an honor.
Great one. You have a super duper time, and I will be in touch.
Bye.